It was May 1997, San Jose, California. At the Apple Worldwide Development Conference, it was Steve Jobs that said the legendary words, "You have to start with the user experience in mind and work your way backwards towards technology, not the other way around." That was at the eve of the smartphone revolution, and we all know how successful that was. So now we're at the eve of the AI revolution, and there's a lot of hype. So in order to make some sense out of that hype, some practical sense out of that hype, let's apply the lesson of this late marketing genius. Let's take artificial intelligence as a technology and use it to get the best and the most out of human intelligence as a means to a goal, not the other way around. And that goal is usability. So today, January 2025, at the Rocco Genesis conference, let's have a look at how that applies to roaming. More specifically, how can we use AI to maximize the usability of your roaming system? This is how that works. Let's start with the problem, because the innovation is only as good as a problem it solves. The market challenge is twofold. Complexity is rising on one hand, but resources are not. Complexity is rising because there's IoT with all of its use cases. We have 5G with its two flavors. We have faulty over new radio. We have hundreds of private networks and resulting MVNOs and MVNEs and sponsored roaming. And there's a lot of new network functions to manage all these growing requirements, which is great. What is not so great is that the number of resources are not growing. Budgets are not growing, in roaming at least, and expertise is very hard to find. So we must do more with less. We have to apply a different way of thinking than we did when we created those problems. So how can we better leverage all of the capabilities that we have? Enter artificial intelligence. Most of us already use AI in some capacity, like ChatGPT, for example, to find an answer to a question like, how do I calculate a percentage in Excel, or to produce something faster than we could normally do ourselves, like how do I create a job specification for a VP product of CELLUSYS. So AI gives us knowledge much quicker, or even knowledge that we can never attain. It is more efficient with time and gets us to do things a lot faster. Back to Apple. This is from the Worldwide Developer Conference in 2024, where Tim Cook was interviewed, and he said about AI basically the same thing as Steve Jobs said 28 years ago. We see it as an opportunity to do more things for people, providing an assistant for people, improving people's lives. I do believe that as things get smarter with AI, that you can do things that were taking more time will take less time now. So using AI to get the best out of human intelligence. What's missing now for MNOs then? Back to the problem. As users of technology, we all want the same outcomes. We want to do things we could otherwise not do, and as such free up more time for other work, like making new use cases, making new pricing, coming up with new marketing propositions. And at the same time, we still have to manage all those functions. So do more with less. MNOs have many capabilities to various tools, but these tools are often very complex to use. They need deep expertise. They need many hours of training. They require reading hundreds of pages of documentation. And they also need frequent vendor support to do really advanced things, because there's a lot of advanced things that they can do. If we could make all of these capabilities accessible, we can remove barriers for using these tools and unlock their true potential, unlock their full potential. And this is where the solution lies. The solution lies in the problem. If we could ask the system, if we could have natural language interactions with the system, who is the real expert, we could ask it for help instead of relying on vendor support. We could tell the system what to do or what we want in terms that we understand. So you don't have to know how to configure the system. You only need to know what you want it to do. For example, asking for help. Ask for information on how to create a configuration, like how do I create a rule that will steer all of my subscribers in Ireland to MNOX? Instead of going into the system and figuring it out by using a manual. Or asking asking for more information. Ask for information on the nuances of the roaming system, because there's a lot of nuances in a roaming system, and there are gaps in understanding the system if you just read the manual. So like, what is a subscriber group? What message would user with MZX get if they go to country Y? And last but not least, but that's also where the challenge lies in AI, tell it what to do, and it will do it for you. Ask it to create a new configuration for you without needing to understand how to use the system, like create a rule to steer all subscribers in Ireland to MNOX, but you don't want it to do that by itself, obviously. Ask it for help troubleshooting the specific subscriber experience. So if the CEO of one of your big companies, customers, goes to Australia, for example, give me a summary of everything that has happened for that subscriber X in the last week. So what in that example would it look like? So on the background, you have the classic interface, classic UI for the CELLUSYS steering of roaming system. And on top of that, as a simple add-on, is now the CELLUSYS assistant that says, hello, I'm the CELLUSYS AI assistant. Ask me any question about the roaming system or select an option below to get started. But what we want to know is, tell me about the roaming experience of subscriber X with MZY that went on a business trip on the 15th of July, 2024. System starts fetching a response, and it gives you a full analysis of what happened, but in the simple terms, like what is the source network with Orange Spain, the destination network with Telstra Australia, it is allowed, it has successfully attached, and this is the timestamp. So the user experience analysis, he has been roaming from Spain to Australia, the network attachment was successful, and the conclusion is he had a good roaming experience and everything was hunky-dory. So, great, but how do we get there? We have to reuse as much existing capabilities as possible, because we are not AI experts and neither are you. You have to follow a best-of-breed approach, use the best available tools on the market. But the thing is, AI is so vastly developing that they are leapfrogging each other, so we have to be very careful and have a methodology to be able to use the best-of-breed approach at that moment. So we have to save our own resources by leveraging existing tools on the market. Billions are being spent on AI tools. We have to make use of these. Again, we are not the experts. So how would that work? It's called retrieval augmented generation. We improve the output of the AI-generated responses by grounding the model on our data for our specific use cases and capabilities. So we use an existing AI tool like either ChatGPT or Llama or Mistral or Qwen, and that will take care of understanding the query through its standard capabilities. But the thing is, it doesn't know specific product information to fulfill that query. That's where we augment it with product-specific documentation via API. We enable it to answer queries specific to the product, and we enable it to generate API commands to make changes or make further queries based on the user input. No AI without API in this case to make the system easily accessible and quickly deployable. All data in the system must be available by API, and all elements of the system must be configurable by API. APIs enable other systems to make changes without human expertise. I'm not saying without human control, because that remains important, but without human expertise. This is the key enabler for AI-based decisions reusing existing platforms. Talking about platforms, how does it work? What are the components? First of all, the chat interface. That's the interface added to the product to enable natural language interaction. Then we have the system API that provide a standard way to interact with the roaming system itself, like making a query to get reporting data or to update rules or policies. And then, of course, the AI system itself that interprets the user query with context provided from the product documentation. It can send commands back to the API to make changes, and it interprets data and provides analysis. So how does that work? We stick with the example. So we have the question, tell me about the user experience of subscriber X, that is typed into the chat interface, relayed to the AI system, interpreted by the AI system, and a query is generated to run to gather the data that's relevant to subscriber X, which is returned via the chat interface to the system API. The system API returns the report data to the chat interface, and the chat interface sends the original query and the relevant report data as context to the AI system that interprets it and returns the roaming experience report, which is then shown to the user in the same kind of language that he used to ask the question. So, in summary, what makes this a great innovation? It leverages investments already made, both in the roaming system and in the AI market in general. So it is easily deployable. The AI system can run either locally at the MNO or hosted in CELLUSYS or even hosted at the AI supplier. And as such, it will have a quick time to market because it's a simple add-on to the roaming system. The return on investment is high. I calculated that for a big MNO of 20-30 million subs, the payback time for such a solution would be around 6 months. But the core thing is, it frees up resources for core tasks, and it will prove to your management and the market that you're using cutting-edge technology to stay ahead of your competitors. Thank you.